Well, I'll let you hear it. I won't preface it. One, two, three, four.
I think it's better if I comment after each tune. Otherwise, I think stand in front of the musicians and take notes. You know, it's like the judge and jury or something like that. First of all, lots of nice projection for the trumpets. Very often, most school bands, I don't know what it is. I think the band director must be a saxophone player. But no, the projection is good, you know. And for this type of music, that vibrato is good too. You know, just so you should always be conscious of vibrato in playing lead trumpet, and of course guys trying to match you with things like that. But other than that, but because it was just the vibrato, it's just what you do want, because it gives that little bit more romantic ring to this type of thing. And I always think what was that joke we heard the other day about girl singers? The difference between a girl singer and a terrorist is that you can deal with a terrorist.
Okay, Randy.
Yeah, so I'm really just having fun. 4 of my daughters are singers, okay? Okay, so I have lots of singers around my home. And the first thing that I know just from doing this form of music, now we don't have any singers with us, but is band's always too loud, right? That's why you're over there instead of here, you know. And if you were professional, you'd be singing like this. Okay, so because there's always that thing that all of us want to project our instrumental abilities, and yet we are playing behind a girl singer, you know, and who cannot be negotiated with. And so we need to be. So one of the things to think about, I know from conducting a lot of my bands behind other vocalists, you know, and is if you sort of think about what's going on while she's singing a lyric, is something really important. When you get to bars 7 and 8 in than an ordinary thing. The vocal line is not moving there, you know, and then you can really smash it. One thing, the dynamics, you know, from soft to loud, are really important, you know, and because it really is true that normally she would be standing right up in front of the band. So everybody should be conscious. Reminds me of Sonny Rollins, who was one of the great jazz tenor saxophonists, will not play a ballad unless he knows all the lyrics. Isn't that interesting? And yet he may never play the melody. You know, he's infamous for giving you about 2.5 bars of the melody and then he's out to space. But still, he does want to know the tune and the lyric. Now that's an extreme thing. I play a lot of ballads, but I don't know the lyrics, you know, and things like that. But I'm just pointing out that there are great guys that, so you leave the musicality of what the tune originally was. But I did like, you got a trumpet teacher around here or something like that? Yeah. Did he teach you?
Well, not really.
No, okay. I know. I tell you what, the best, you know, you can listen to a guy like me when I'm doing my regular thing. And, you know, a lot of things that I say are totally useless to the person listening because there's so many different approaches to every one of your instruments, you know. But if you can, you know, if you listen to somebody like me, and I say 20 things and 3 of them work for you, you're a big winner. And you just toss the other 17 out, you know. And the same thing would apply to any other known trumpet player, right? Or to loan sax, you know. Okay, so the projection left me kind of real happy right here, you know. Another thing is on any band, the rhythm section should always be able to sing. This is a funny thing. I mean, you don't have to know how to sing, but if you can sing, especially drummer, sing the brass riffs in your head, you know. Most big bands in the old days, I would try to get the drummer to roam with the lead trumpet player, because then you get a real affiliation of the fact that you have to play with 2 different bands, right? More so really than that. You know, you've got to play with the rhythm section and catch all the kicks of the band at the same time. So here you're trying to swing, and there you're trying to be what is called a big band drummer, you know. So without naming names, one of my all-time favorite drummers was one of my all-time favorite trumpet players. So we're on a very high level. Finally sat in with my band, you know, great small band drummer. He sounded terrible, and we were all embarrassed, right? Well, the point to bringing that up is that because he had never really done the duality game of playing with a big band. And that had never occurred to us. As a matter of fact, my drummer was the one that said, let's have him sit in with us, you know. And because he's such a marvelous drummer. And really had no idea how to play with this side of the band without disrupting the rhythm section. So there is a duality thing there. And eventually, you know, and all big bands there are 3 egomaniacs allowed, right? You know. And it's him and the drummer and the lead trumpet player, you know. And it's just something that's whoever's playing lead. Mind you, the egomaniac can switch if you guys are switching lead parts, you know. And that doesn't mean being good guy, bad guy, or anything like that. It just has to do with being confident, you know, playing everything like, you know, all the early things you probably have been taught about. If you're going to make a mistake, make a good one. Do not be tentative, right? That doesn't mean be louder. That just means like come in. My best example is a great drummer, Shelly Mann, who was a great Stan Kenton band during the years I was with him. And we had a 41-piece orchestra. We were doing the thing in 7/8, and 40 of us came in at letter B, bang, and he came in a beat later. You know, that's 41, right? You know, and he slammed his sticks down and said, "Come on, guys, if you're not going to count," right? The idea being that he was so sure that he was right that he was positive 40 people were wrong. Right? You know, and that seemed totally normal to him. You know, the rest of us laughed, of course, you know, and because of course he was wrong, you know. But the point is, when he came in a beat late, it was like, bam! It wasn't, oops, I wonder if, you know. So that's the little message. And then, in spite of my ability as an incredible saxophonist, I think maybe I should let Glenn talk at this moment. Terrible saxophone.
I thought the band sounded great. Like Maynard said, the brass section has a lot of strength.
Professional sting. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Great projection coming from the brass section, which puts an extra load on the saxophone players. Even when you have microphones, you still need to shove a whole lot of air through those horns to make sure that you can balance what's happening with the brass section, and that's a challenge that you'll find the rest of your life as a saxophone player. So you might just want to pick up a trumpet instead. But another thing as a saxophone player in a big band is listening through the band. As a section player, in big bands I play a lot of baritone saxophone, so I get experience listening to all different parts of the band, meaning that when the saxophone section has something going on, while I'm playing my part, I have one ear tuned to what I'm playing, and I have the other ear tuned to what the lead alto player is going to play the lead alto. So he's setting the style for everybody in the section, and everybody's sound has to be like crawling up inside of his sound and matching exactly what he's doing, note for note, and vibrato for vibrato, and unison when he's not playing vibrato. Everybody has to play with a smooth, even sound. And then, on another level, if you're playing a section where, say, the saxophones and the trombones have a section where you're together, then the lead alto player's ears have to be going back to the lead trombone player's sound. And particularly as a baritone saxophone, sometimes the whole section will be playing one thing, and the bari player will be with the trombone section. So at that point, you're not necessarily paying attention to the lead alto player, but you're shifting your ears back to the trombone player. And then on top of that, when you get to a 2D section where the whole band's playing together, everybody's ears should be focused back to the lead trombone player. And at that point, it's almost like you relinquish your section status as a saxophone player, and you just become a band member. And everybody's ears need to be focused directly back to that lead trumpet player. And that's how you can really get a unified sound. If you listen to big band albums by some of Maynard's great big bands, or the Count Basie band, bands where the guys have obviously been on the road together and played a whole lot together, and it really does sound like there's one guy playing. And that's because basically there's one lead trumpet player who's landed right down in the middle, and everybody else has their ears tuned towards them. And it works individually with each section. So when the trombone players have their moment of glory, all those trombone players have to be focused in on the lead player. And that also applies to when different sections are doing different things. Maynard touched on the fact that when you have a vocalist with the band, when she's singing her lyric, you have to kind of lay low, let her lyric come out over the top, and then at the end of the phrase, when she has basically come to a resting point and there's a couple of bars left there, in bars 7 and 8, that's where you sing out with your background line. The same thing holds true when there's not a vocalist, but you start the tune and say the saxophones have the melody of the tune, and the trumpets and trombones are playing in background. You guys need to lay low, and when you hear the saxophones come to a resting point in their melody, that's when the brass can come out. So one of the really great things I get from playing in a big band is getting to listen to everybody else play. I have a whole lot of fun playing, but it's almost more fun to get to listen to other cats play. And always be checking out what's going on around you. It sounds like you guys are already doing a lot of listening, but that's, I think, the thing that separates good bands from really great bands is everybody listening to everybody else, so you know at any given moment who has the melody. Do I have a melody? Do I need to be playing out really strong so that the crowd can hear what's happening in this tune, or are the trumpets behind me playing the melody, and am I just supporting them and playing well? So once you've rehearsed the tune and got the parts down, so you're comfortable playing your own part, getting to know what's going on around you is, I think, one of the most important parts of big band playing, and even small group playing. It really applies a lot. But I think you guys are doing a lot of that already. Sounds very good.
Yeah, good. Let's hear another tune.
What, Joe?
Oh, one other thing. One other thing. Sometimes, well, us guys come in and like that, and it doesn't matter like that, but in regards to if I was really wanting to hear that tune again, I would bully you, see, and I'd have you up front, because that's where you belong, right? You know, and let them work it out. You know, they're going to have to hold down behind, or it's embarrassing, you know, and things like that. And so that's just something that's real good, because it's funny. I mean, I'm standing over there perfectly still, and I know that when she's practicing at home, she's moving all over the place, you know, right?
I think it's called Ferguson.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Are y'all ready?
I was trying to listen for two things. First of all, the phones could just pump it up a little bit, all four of you, just one more notch. For one thing, the trumpets are doing what I love, they're standing up. Every school band or learning band that I am around, I always encourage, even if you get all the brass to stand up. I noticed a lot of people are interested in that, so I'll give in to that one. But you're doing it's a natural way to play. We're also going to talk about this funny thing now. When I'm playing at my best, at the end of the evening, I can tell because my socks are soaking wet, you know, and that's because it's called coordination in sports, I suppose, or whatever. But I use the body so that I don't injure the limb, right? You know, this is callous because for you guys, one brief thing is that one of my teachings is to try to do one thing that I do the other way, and that is I play with dry lips, so I'm always getting lots of callus right here. I think you guys, if I was starting all over again, I'd try to play with a wet lip. But if it doesn't work for you, whatever works. And it's obvious that innocence and instinct and a little touch of ignorance, I'm sure, on my part, I just rammed it home maybe when I was, and made it work whichever way it worked, you know. So I don't know how many of you have a wet, play with a wet lip and how many dry, but I'm a dry lip player on the top and wet on the bottom, you know. And I put the jaw out in the lower register and I allow it to come back in the upper register. Then you never have to think about, I don't know if you've seen all those books on syllables, direction of the airstream, the position of the tongue, how to keep the throat open. There's too many things to think about. You just want to eventually, in the learning process, whatever you can find that works for you, that has the least amount of rules, is the way you want to approach the instrument, you know. Because eventually the goal is to just play, you know. And if I'm dissatisfied with a warm-up or something like that, I don't feel good, whatever, doesn't feel right or something like that, then I'll get analytical in the dressing room. The minute I come out here, boom, you want to be able to, and when you reach that state, that doesn't mean you'll be perfect in your playing. It just means that all of the mechanics are there, you know. And if you get up and miss the ball occasionally, you say, the hell with it, you know. You never carry a scorecard on yourself, right? As soon as you make a mistake, it's history. Boom. Yeah. Just like that. Yeah, here we have a good conversation here. But isn't it murder when you miss and the lead album player turns around and looks at you? You know? Yeah. that happens in every age of big band that's ever existed. You know? And because we're the most exposed when we're, as Glenn pointed out, with a lead trumpet player in a full ensemble where they're all playing together in a bassy-like structure. You know, when we miss, it's right out there, folks. You know, and some of the other harmony notes can get lost if there's no miss, no that kind of thing. I do want to comment on one thing. This guy uses his legs correctly. That's why I mentioned my socks. You guys don't. The two people that you want to think about the most is great opera singers, and this guy looks like he lifts a little weights occasionally. Do you? Yeah. Okay. Use your body the same exact way, man. And you're going to be a tiger, man. Because what you want to do is there's a thing of being kept. You know, you see all these album covers, and you got Miles Davis standing like this, you know, and it looks hip, and Dizzy's acting silly, or any of the great ones, anyone you like. But the thing is, that's album covers, and usually we're bullied by photographers. So you're looking at the work of a photographer. You look at how a guy stands, you know. Pavarotti walks all over the stage, great opera singer, right? Right when he's doing his normal, easy things. But as soon as he has to take care of an energy demand, right? All of a sudden, both feet are planted, not one in front of the other, and he's protecting his back, right? right? You know, and then you know, what's the weightlifter do? Sends the air out, right? You know, if you will, and that's the feeling right there. So for those of you that don't want to lift weights, you know, that's cool, but just observe them and then pick a very small weight. It doesn't matter. You know, we're not talking about building muscle necessarily. You know, but we're talking about that you feel as soon as you get your body muscles working into the horn and controlling the airstream without you even thinking about it, right? Then you'll discover that the enemy, which is the hands, are not necessary. They'll be necessary 30% of what they were, because you'll feel the power coming. When my head blows up like a balloon and I get red and all that kind of thing, that's from the air pressure inside me going out, not from me injuring by ramming at home. You know. Yeah. So, but it has to start with the stance. You know. So it's the stance and this. Now, when we get to my pivot, if you wish to call it that, with the jaw in and out, I know guys that do it the opposite, and they're marvelous. All right, so you can fool with that if you want. If it doesn't work, don't worry about it. There's too many guys that don't do that are marvelous players, you know. But the stance is really one you want to watch, and it's very often caused by the music stand. You know, you take your younger brother or sister and give them a trumpet and say, hey, see if you can get a sound out of that. Now blow it. You know, and they're full of fun, and it's just, you know, family, you know, they'll go, and they're perfect, you know. Then, whereas we all know we got to learn to read music and things like that, and then all of a sudden, from this perfect natural stance, you're just blowing air through tubing, right? Yeah. To suddenly, now you have something intellectual to do. Ooh, be careful. So always adjust the music stand to you, because otherwise that's when you start doing this, you know. And I don't know why people do it now. There's only one guy with glasses on, two, you know. And I use contact lenses, but the thing is that I don't know why it is. We always have this totally erroneous attitude that if we get our eyes closer to the music, we're going to read the music then, you know, I mean, unless there's something wrong with your eyes. Well, we all do it. I do it. I catch myself and laugh at myself on this day when we get a new chart in. And I'll catch myself leaning even closer than I need to the music. It's just something you do, and it's something you shouldn't do, you know, because you're not playing naturally, and you're developing most of all. If you get a lot of new music or music that you haven't memorized, you know. So 50% of your personal practicing in front of a mirror is not an ego trip. It's part of the best, because, you know, you yourself are your own teacher. These are the critics right here. You know, the other guys, forget about that. You know when you play great, you know when you play ego, etc. You know, so, because then you get caught up in ego and all that kind of thing, you know. So, the thing is to do it for yourself, and whether you get advice from your music educator or guys that come in intermittently like myself or whatever. The point is it's these and that, you know. But the point is don't ruin your stance because you're reading music. Just figure out how to make that music stand work, you know. But we've all been yelled at by our band directors for playing into our music stands and stuff like that, you know. So this is so it's just the natural way for the airstream. That's why I'd like to see the trombone. If we had a riser back there, I'd ask the trombones to stand for this next one, just so that you also have that same thing. Various guys have developed there's wild techniques. You know, we watch wind instrument players teach when they're playing in a band that plays a certain amount of hard music, which most do, you know. I've seen guys that curl their feet around the chair, legs and things. I can't do that, but I've seen them do it. But they're looking for that same feeling, you know, of using the energy of your body to send the air through the instrument, right? Okay. All right, so that's enough of my rant. Glenn, do you want to say something about the last team?
Yeah. Let's see. At the beginning, we had the saxophone do the the solo thing, and then we went kind of into the slow swing tempo. And one thing that I felt like the drums could have done to make that lock in a little better is even at a slow tempo in kind of a delicate musical setting, you can really stomp on your hi-hat, even when you're riding pretty lightly on your ride cymbal. If you're playing 2 and 4 on the hi-hat, that really helps define the time. And even in very quiet situations, you can really stomp on that hi-hat and be very, very confident. Put it right in the pocket, and that'll help bring the whole ensemble together, which is crucial. It seems like even more so at slower tempos than at fast tempos, because I think as a horn player, it's easy to let your mind wander at a slower tempo. When he kicks off the up tempo thing, then everybody gets that concentration that is born of panic. Yeah, exactly. Everybody panics and looks right at their music, and then that's when the feet really start tapping, and people really key in. But at a slower or medium slow tempo, they need kind of a kick in the pants sometimes, and really stomping on that hi-hat helps a lot to define the time. And as a horn player, you need to key into what he's doing on his hi-hat and listen to the ping of his cymbal, his ride cymbal. Listen for where those quarter notes are placed, and make sure that your tongue nailing down quarter notes and the ping of his ride cymbal are exactly the same spot. And what else did I notice? There was a section we were talking about earlier about playing backgrounds. This time, instead of behind the vocalist, we're behind the tenor soloist. And in the kind of up tempo section, there was a section where he was playing melody again, and we had the trombones and the saxophones playing the background things, and you were all together playing the same kind of rhythmic things. And there's the background figures you were playing had a lot of rhythmic intensity to them. They were real rhythmic and real big band sounding. And the temptation is to want to play those loud because that's the way it feels like they should be played. But there's a trick to playing backgrounds where you can kind of give the illusion of playing loudly, but still leave enough room for the soloist to come through it. And I think about this a lot when I'm playing background behind people, is to like sting the beginnings of long notes. And short notes you can play loud and it won't get in the way of the soloist just by the very nature of the fact that it's a short note. But you had a figure that was like ba 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 do da 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 ba do da 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 da, and we were playing chords that were going along behind. And if you play them even like that, the tendency with all of you playing, there's 4 trombones and 7 saxophones. You're going to totally outweigh the soloist, even if the soloist is in a microphone. But if you sting those long notes and get them out of the way and go ba 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 da ba ba, you can still sustain the long note, but by stinging the beginning of the note and getting out of the way, you leave room in the listener's mind for the solo section to come through, and it still gives the illusion by your vigorous playing and articulation of being expending a lot of energy, and it gives kind of the illusion of loud backgrounds without actually drowning out what's going on. So that's just another exercise in listening to who has the melody and respecting the person with the melody or the section with the melody and getting out of the way of the
Okay. Want to play another tune for us?
Sure.
How are we doing on time? We're okay.
A lot of these are kind of young players. And when we do some open solos there, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought we maybe play C jam.
C jam.
Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2,
the improvising game, right? You know, and it's the difference between a commercial dance band and too many of us adults, quote unquote, have put the whole big band thing together into one parcel. Like, oh, that's the big band there. And just like all the others, there's so many variances. Duke Ellington did not sound at all like Lawrence Welk, you know, and they're both big bands, you know. So what I mean, and there's such a great range of various things. But then there's the jazz bands versus, sometimes you have the jazz bands with very little soloing that went on. Okay, then there was the jazz bands with a lot of soloing. Ellington, my band, with lots of soloing. So at one point, in what we just listened to here, we were maybe, I don't know, what, 58% quartet. How many rhythm we got there? 4? Yeah, quartet. Yeah, okay. All right, so we have to learn how to play. The soloists have to, in your listening thing, because when it comes to the academic part of play jazz, and I'm going to turn that one over to you. For me, in my day, I went to the French Conservatory of Music, and the word jazz is a very ugly word. This is in the French province of Quebec and all that. I mean, it just wasn't even ugly, it just didn't exist. And so the thing is that listening is a great art form within itself. And what you listen to and how much you listen to. It's amazing how many music majors in some of the major music schools in this country don't listen to as much music as the kid that's in the top 40, who owns the very best Walkman, goes around and bores everybody because he don't talk to nobody because he or she is listening to music, regardless of what you may think of the content of it. It is interesting that sometimes as we get into our instruments and stuff like that, we turn off listening. You need to, for instance, like for improvising, one of the things you want to do, especially during the stage that I feel you're at right now, you always want to be able to snap your fingers. I think that's a real good idea on all your solos. Like your first break there. Now I know that sometimes that's nerves, sometimes, but the point is you want to hear this, And one way to get it is, especially at the beginning, is to start your solo with something. He's got that one down, right? And so there was some good time, and the thing came together with the bone solo. Just brought everything right in. So the thing is, try not to do too much too soon when you're improvising, and especially when you're having breaks going into the band. Then, of course, we have to depend on the drummer, right? Who sometimes is caught, like if the soloist is rushing during a break, he has time, then he does have a weird choice. Am I going with the soloist, or am I going to be stubborn and leave it right there and go ba-dum-bum? Mel Lewis is a great drummer to listen to because he's a big band and a small band guy, and because he always plays things real simple. In other words, and brass hit. So as opposed to guys that will try to stump the band by how tricky they can be. Okay, but you're not doing that. But I mean, there are lots of drummers like that, and they're correct metronomically, but they ruin the rhythmic flow of the band. Okay, So the simple drum break leading into a break at the beginning of the solo. So you might just try pretending you're playing almost the lead part when you play your first break. Play fewer notes at the beginning, and then take it out later. Okay. Anything? It is a different approach. You see, it's almost like you can have rehearsals in this band without ensembles for doing this tune where it's just the rhythm section. And you'd be amazed at how you think you're going on and on endlessly and nothing is happening. But the real truth is you start to get together, and out of boredom and creativity, which are the two do go together a lot, and all of a sudden you start doing things, and two out of three things don't work, and then you start noticing that third thing is working, because you certainly can't write out the rhythmic patterns very well anyway, playing C-jam blues when it's the soloist in the rhythm section, and it's a feeling that you get from playing a lot together, I always try to do away. My bands have always been jazz bands predominantly, and I try to do away with the word big band rhythm section. I always try to say I want a small jazz band rhythm section that's playing in the big band. In other words, if the rhythm section is 4 people, they should be a great sounding quartet. They ought to hang together, they ought to play together, they ought to sound great without all of us. And as soon as they start doing that, then it's amazing how the band starts popping. But it's just that strange thing that a trumpet section is filled with people that play trumpets. And trombone section is a trombone section. But a rhythm section filled with people who all play different instruments. So there is a different family thing there. But therefore, you're a band on your own, you know. And if you can get that feeling and merge that all together, that's what's so beautiful about a big band, you know, and about specifically a big jazz band, you know. And you really the ensemble start to kick the players in, and then the players have that sort of thing to look at the era of the tune that you're playing. If you're on a full thing, a tune you're going to play lots more notes, right? You're going to almost be into what you're playing right there, as opposed to you know, C jam blues goes back to Duke Ellington in the early and truly one of the great eras of it, you know. All right, so the point is, if for a while you just step back from where you are, I do this myself, and start playing simpler in my jazz things after I decide I'm getting too crazy, you know, and decide where to be crazy with it and creative, and where to just lay it down, you know, and go for it. And suddenly, you know, a minor third can sound hot. You know, I just lay on it for a while, you know, before we worry about the flat fives or whatever else we want to incorporate into our thing, you know. But being simple, we're also creating something for the rhythm section to feed off of, rather than the rhythm section trying to control us because we're either rushing or slowing down, or things because we're trying to make all this work together, our mind, be creative, and all that, and we start to rush or whatever, you know. And that's one thing. But I do love to hear all the young people getting into improvising, and nobody should be discouraged to the point of thinking, oh, I'm a lead player, so I don't play jazz, you know, or I'm a jazz player, so I don't play lead. You're all too young to make those decisions, right? You know, because a lot of it is experience, and above all, be good listening. You know, listen to a lot of good players, and when I see somebody that's a Maynard freak, I immediately tell them to go out and buy some Dizzy and some Miles and all the great classical drum players. In other words, listen to everybody and be influenced by all the great players, you know, and then you won't be a cookie stand with one guy that you really like. That might be all right for a baseball player, but it's not a good idea for a musician to be exactly playing out the way Charlie Parker is, you know. And yet we're talking about genius right there, but that's his genius. So if the guy loves Charlie Parker, that's great, but then make sure you listen to a lot of the other guys, and eventually the reward is great, and that is that you sound like yourself, you know. Okay, you want to say anything on that?
Taking what Maynard was saying about playing simpler ideas, one thing, particularly in playing blues, and even more particularly in playing a traditional kind of blues like C-jam blues, if you listen to even the melody of the tune, there's just that one lick that's repeated. One lick that's repeated 3 times. And it's simple, and you can sing it as easily as you can play it. And it leaves a lot of room in that melody to just sit and listen to the rhythm section. Da 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 da. So when you play a solo in this traditional blues style, if you go way back to when the blues was first put together, when people were out in the field singing work songs, the way the blues was put together is in three 4-bar chunks, just like the blues that you're playing here today. 3 groups of 4 bars to make a 12-bar blues. And in the traditional blues form, what would be sung would be a 4-bar phrase, then they would repeat almost exactly that 4-bar phrase. And then the last 4 bars, they would maybe respond to the first 2. So what I'm driving at is don't be afraid if you play a lick that you like, and you all know when that happens, because you feel it. You play a lick and your brain goes, hey, that was okay. Don't be afraid to just turn right around and play that same lick again. to reinforce a little bit of a melodic idea. So if you go ba 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 boo boo da da da, you have to play it again. Ba 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 boo boo da ba ba, and then respond to it. Ba da boo ba ba boo da da da. And you just play a chorus blues with a lot of space, with a rhythmic interest, a little melodic interest, and left a lot of room for the rhythm section to groove, and that gives you something to build on. The same thing is true even taking a 2-bar break at the end of the chorus, playing something with a lot of rhythmic intensity that's not too complicated so that everybody knows where you're going, because there's nothing more frustrating playing in a band than having somebody behind you take a break and the time goes out the window and nobody knows where to come back in, and that's a scary feeling. Even if the drummer's setting it up, you're not sure if the drummer knows where he's supposed to be. But and then as you get more comfortable playing with those, and even as your each solo progresses, then you can play more notes and play more sophisticated musical ideas. But don't be afraid to chop out like 2/3 of everything you think about playing and just wait. Because I think when playing the blues, that adage that less is more is very applicable. I just leave them wanting more and give it to them next time.
Yeah, okay, great. Well, listen, let's see how we're doing here. I think we've got a concert we're going to play tonight. And I do want to thank all of you very much. And I also want to be very encouraging because I thought the band sounded very good. And I enjoyed the energies there. And things of that nature, and also I thought the intonation was pretty good.
Yeah.
Which is, I say pretty good because sometimes we're not that good. Sometimes we get real jealous. And not Glenn, of course. Never, no. But, okay, and I do thank you all, and I enjoyed it very much, and this type of thing is something I really enjoy. A lot of talent right here in this band. You guys could just take and work at this, and you could be if you're a good sounding band now, you could be a great sounding band. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, man, President, have a little memento before you do this.
Oh,
Got something for you. You look just
like
no expense.
Oh, great, thank you. I hope it's a medium small. Thank you very much. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. Enjoy it.
How was the New Orleans convention?
Oh, it was marvelous. We had a lot of fun with that, you know, and because we played with everybody, of course, at the Hyatt, and then after we played at the Hyatt, the next night we played at Storyville. So then all the late guys were through with their convention the next night, and then our shows didn't even start until 10 o'clock. You know, so they did that on purpose, so the guys. So, great. Yeah.
Thanks again. Let's give